Welcome to another episode of the Ponzi Scheme Show. This should be episode 3, maybe 4, not sure. So, first off, I have some pretty exciting news about the channel. I have a good friend of mine. He's a tattoo artist and an illustrator, and he is working on a logo for me for this YouTube channel, and I'll probably use it for Instagram and so on. So that's pretty exciting. I would show you a preview, but it's not quite done yet, and I don't know honestly if I have permission to use it yet because I haven't even paid for it yet. So that's pretty exciting. On the episode after this one, I am going to have my first guest. Um, it's my friend John. We hold on, nice Coca Cola. They're not a sponsor yet, but hey, come on. Um, so that's pretty exciting. I'm gonna have my first guest. He we met. We started working together probably 8 years ago. No, longer than that. Maybe like 12 years ago. Um, and well, I don't want to give too much of the story because I'd rather him and I discuss it. But so we worked together for a while, and then we both got different jobs, and he got married. I bought a house. He bought a house, then bought a different house. Um, he's got some kids, and I have 3 cats. So a lot happened. We really haven't stayed in touch as much as I would have liked to, or that we should have. So that's pretty exciting. Not sure how it's gonna go. It's going to be via Skype. So we'll see how it goes. I did a like a test run with my wife the other night just to see because I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna excuse me, how I'm gonna put it in or how I'm gonna edit it together. So it looked kind of funky, but I was just using the webcam on my laptop. But when I do the thing with John, I'm gonna use a GoPro as the webcam, so it should be much better audio and much better video. The my webcam, I believe, is only 720p, whereas the GoPro can do 1080p. Um, Not sure about the frames, uh, as the webcam. So that'll be better. I'm going to also do the my audio on the Tascam and see how that works because I don't know if the audio from the GoPro going into Skype is going to sound. I don't know, but we'll see. That's what's great about this whole thing. This is brand new for me. I'm going to get a brand new logo. Eventually going to upgrade the set here. If you want to call it the set, it's not really a set. Who am I joking? Who am I kidding? The wall. Uh, so I have when I did videos, the other videos on my channel, I used green screen, so I do have it. It's over there, um, but I don't know. I don't even know if it's worth it. To tell you the truth, like I might just maybe make this wall look nicer, but it's just such a crappy color. Um, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I'd like to put some, production value into this show. I'm trying to make it entertaining. I want to try to keep it positive. Um, But when, I'm kind of, I guess, 60%, maybe 70% of the content is going to be about scams and schemes and how to protect yourself and how to, um, maybe fix any damage that was done. Just things to look out for, things like that. Um, I'm not an expert at anything, so you don't have to listen to me. But there's a lot of people out there that don't know that these things exist. That will, if they get a phone call or they get an email or uh, whatever, and they, you panic because you think it's legit, and maybe you owe a couple $100, maybe it's a couple $1,000, maybe it's tens of thousands of dollars, or or maybe it's a straight up scam where they tell you, hey, we hacked into your computer, and if you want your files back, give us $600 in Bitcoin or whatever. So so my point is it's hard to, if I'm talking about scams and schemes and uh, things like that, it's hard to have a positive spin on that. And I don't want to be doom and gloom, and there's enough of that out there. I want to try to deflect as much negative energy and try to soak up as much positive energy. Um, that's it, really. Um, so try to stay positive. Try to have a positive spin. Try to, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know why you guys are watching this. But every great show started somewhere. I'm not saying that this is going to be a great show. I hope it is. That'd be nice. And we'll see what happens. It is very hard to just talk to yourself. So that's why you see me looking around the room, because I have I have a lot of really strange things around here that have faces and eyeballs looking at me. So, like Billy over there. You guys will see Billy. You guys will meet Billy. If you guys watched the last video I did, was the subscriber question about hooking up two mixers. There was you saw a brief image of Billy across the room over there. So, I don't know, he seems to like the show. He hasn't complained. So, what do you think, Billy? I don't know. So really, I had nothing, um, and I'm probably not gonna have any, set topic. There's things that I might, think about. My, hey, you know what? I should touch on that, or here's something else. But I'm gonna try to keep it as natural as possible. I'm gonna try to, not have a script, not have, I don't want to have things written down. I thought about it, and I'm like, it's fine. I could get some bullet points on a piece of paper, but I don't want to rely on that. I want it to be just very natural, very organic, very whatever. Whatever happens to be flowing in my brain at that moment. Um, However, when I do come up with a topic, I'm going to try to do a little bit of research. Um, because to be honest, when you go down a rabbit hole, if there's something you want to learn about or something that's interesting, or you just want to see if it's for real, it takes a long time to weed through the nonsense and the things that are a little out there and really get to the nitty gritty. So, you know, the topics that I'm coming up with, I'm just looking into very briefly, trying to compile some kind of, try to make some sense of it, maybe make some references to where I found this information, so that you can go and look for yourself if it's something that you're interested in. One of the topics that I want to do a whole episode for is uh, it's kind of a touchy subject. It can I want to be delicate about it. I want to be respectful to people. So one of the things was discussing final arrangements, right? Whether it's a parent, a grandparent, a child. Hopefully not. Hopefully you don't have to bury your own kid. But it happens, and people don't like to talk about it because you don't want to think about it. You don't want to think about losing a loved one. You don't want to think about you yourself, you know, dying and whatever. It's whatever. That's just that's every human. Well, not every, but the majority of us, we don't want to die. We may not necessarily be terrified, but we're not really looking forward to it. When things happen like all of a sudden, where someone just in their sleep, they go to sleep and they don't wake up, like a sudden thing, you had no idea, or it could be, someone, being, very sick for a long time and it's a slow process. And, well, what's better for the griever, for the person that either watches that person over the course of months or years slowly fade away, or whether it's no idea and there's a car accident and that's it. They're done. What's better? So, and with everything going on with the pandemic and so many people getting sick and so many people dying, I just didn't feel it was quite the time yet to really get into the nitty gritty. And it's something that I looked into probably 4 or 5 years ago. I really got, not interested in it, but just, a little peculiar. Like I was just, it was just something that, um, I don't want to say interested. See, I'm trying to stay away from the word interested. It was something that was, um, I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Um, so, and the more I looked into it, it was, I got, it was scary, to be honest. So without going into too much detail, it's something that I think people should talk about. It's a really hard thing to talk about. And to try to be tasteful and be respectful to people. I think I'm gonna hold off doing that particular episode, but and again, it's hard to be positive at the end of that. After, you talk about things like that, it's like how do you put a positive on that? So I guess to conclude with that particular, um, I look at death, I guess, a little differently than I guess most people do. I think it's harder for the griever. It's a tough thing to, say, what, I'm never going to see this person again. I'm never going to, whatever, I know it's a tough thing, but I guess I try to look at it as that person is free from whatever. There's no more pain, there's no more suffering, there's no more whatever. And maybe they weren't in pain, maybe they weren't suffering, but to never have to deal with it, to never have to, worry about bills, worry about, anything. And depending on whether you're religious or not, or, you know, maybe you think that's it, you die and it's just that's it. You don't even know. or whether you think you go to another plane of existence, um, whatever you may believe. I don't necessarily believe in heaven or hell per se, but I would like to believe, and I lean more toward, that there is another something, that there's, whether it's another plane of existence, whether it's we start over somewhere else, whether that's it, and for eternity we just float around and able to experience all the things that we've ever wanted to experience. And um, somebody asked me one time what I thought heaven was like, and I said, well, and when I was a kid, I imagined, well, there's just gardens of, with flowers, and everybody's like super nice to you, and you can, you know, uh, communicate with animals, and whatever. That's a great story, and that's a great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If that is truly what it is, that sounds like a great place. Where you don't feel hungry, you don't feel bored, you don't ever feel sad. You never, that's great. Sounds awesome. But I guess if, I don't know, I guess the more intellectual me, if I can call myself intellectual, uh, cusp of intellectual, I guess I would describe it as a place where you just know everything, where you have a question in your mind, and nanoseconds later, you have the answer almost instantaneously. You want to know whatever it is, why the sky is blue. Well, all right, we know. Okay, why, why why men have nipples? Okay, I that's something I don't know. I'd like to know what's the point. um, that's probably a bad example too, but uh, you know what I mean. Why the platypus? Like, really? It's a beaver, duck. Um, I don't know. So many. Yeah, it's a beaver duck, I guess. Right? That's the closest thing. Like, why? And they got poison toes. I think it's like the thumb on their legs or on their feet or whatever. I think it's poisonous. There's like a little. I don't know. But you know what I mean. But like, just like, if you have a question in your mind, like instantaneously, you know the answer and you understand it. If you pick up a guitar, immediately you just know how to play any song, anything comes to your mind, blah, 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 you could play it. Uh, Whatever. If you want to read a book, it's there. You can just read it to yourself. You know what I mean? That's what I would like to believe. And I mean, I was brought up as, I guess a Christian. My parents were both brought up Catholic. It was never forced on us. We never really went to church unless it was a wedding or a funeral. Um, but I'd like to believe that there's a Jesus. Sounds like a nice guy, I guess. Um, just somebody to like hang out with, just to like that knows everything. That just like you could just ask questions, hang out with, play cards. You know, wouldn't want to play him in chess though. I think he would. Yeah, I don't. I think he'd beat. Yeah, he'd definitely beat me at chess. So, so yeah. Um, I don't know. I don't know. It's like I want. I asked my wife. I was like, well, I want to talk about funerals, and you know what to expect as far as expenses, and um like what to expect when you go to a funeral home, talk to the funeral director, and pick out things. And it's and I was very hesitant to get into it. And I talked to her, and and she's like, yeah, it might be a little, so it's something I'm definitely gonna do. So let me, I'll do it eventually, because I think it's super super important, and I don't think people realize um what's involved in the whole process. Um, but there is an upside to it, I promise. So when I go over it, we'll get in deep because I think it's super, super important. So, but let me know in the comments or hit me up on Instagram, Ponzi Scheme Show on Instagram. My email's on there, Ponzi Scheme Show at gmail.com. And let me know if there's something you want me to talk about. We'll talk about it. If you're like, dude, it's too soon, don't talk about this funeral stuff. It might upset people. I get it. I get it because so many people, over 500,000 people, have had to deal with this in less than a year. Just in this country, I think there's over 2 million, or there's well over 2 million people that have died in the world in less than a year. So that's a lot of people going through some stuff right now, and it's just it may not be appropriate to talk about it. But then again, by the time a lot of people see this, because only people, I think I got 7 views on my first episode and 4 views on my second episode, and those were a couple of weeks ago. And those are probably just people that are accidentally clicking on it. So I think if I did do that episode, by the time people really started to watch it, I think it'd probably be fine, because that would be, maybe a year from now, I might hit 100 views on it. By that time, I think it'd be safe. So you know what? I'll probably just put it together and see what happens. So, and then there's a couple other topics I had in mind, but I really want to hear from you guys. If anybody feels inclined, there's something that maybe you went through. Um, if you got scam through email, or somebody called and something happened, then let me know. And maybe there's people out there that need to hear this so that it doesn't happen to them. Because I just I hate to see people get taken advantage of. I hate bullies, and it's you got to be a real piece of crap to do this to people. I saw a documentary on a call center in it was in India, but I'm trying to think of the town or wherever. Um, it wasn't New Delhi. I don't know. Whatever. And so the the police, but there was a undercover thing, like with under secret cameras and undercover work, and so they finally went in and they busted a bunch of the workers outside, um, on their way in. I guess it was like a shift change. I guess they waited for a shift change because they knew the gates and the doors would be open, and it's a little bit more chaotic. So I think they waited for a shift change and they busted in. They got a bunch of people and they started talking to them like, why do you do it? And there were a few Americans. There was an Australian guy, um, and somebody from somewhere else. Can't remember exactly. And they asked him like, well, why do you do this? You know, these are like elderly people that are barely getting by. They got to pay for prescriptions and doctor's visits, and they're living on very low income, because they're on Social Security and such. Why do you do this? And they basically said, well, because Americans are rich and Americans are lazy, and you know, and they're gullible and they're stupid. So they know, um, they know exactly what they're doing. Um, I mean, there are some people that have, had worked at call centers like that and quit, after like a month or two because they realize, what, maybe they didn't realize it right away, but then they began to realize what was happening and they felt bad. And they ended up, you know, being informants for the police. and it's just a shame, that, I mean, look, I'm all for if well, I shouldn't say this, but, like if you watch like Ocean's 11 or something, or like, I don't know, any kind of like big like jewelry heist or a, bank robbery, those movies are exciting because you don't see a real victim, when it's a casino or something. You think, well, casinos, have tons of money. They're raking in money every day, every hour, every minute. They're just raking it in, unless there's like, some big jackpot that's won. But I think that's all factored in, how, I guess the statistically how often someone's going to hit a big jackpot like that. So, um, when it happens to a bank, when it happens to, you know, I don't know. I guess at least for me, I don't see them as being, a victim, because I mean they are, because it is a legitimate business and they're legally making money and such, but they have a lot of it and it's insured. If somebody robs a bank and steals, hundreds of thousands of dollars, well, it's insured, so they get that money back. And hopefully they catch the people and they get that money back, So, you know, it's kind of cool to see somebody get, taken advantage of in that light. If it's um, if it's a big company and they treat their employees like crap, and, maybe it's like a pharmaceutical company that's like, raking in billions of dollars and they're spending millions every year to either extend their patent so that, other companies can't make that drug, or they uh, try to stop a different drug from coming out because it would put them out of business. If you see them get hacked into and lose a bunch of money, it doesn't seem as bad, you know, as, an elderly person that is living on Social Security and somebody calls them up, schemes them out of money that they don't have, and nothing, there's nothing there to protect those people because they don't know how to go online. They don't know that they can just call the police and hopefully there's some kind of investigation. I mean, and it's just a shame to take advantage of people like that. And it's tax season. I mentioned it in the last episode. It's like, um, there's going to be thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, or maybe millions of phone calls claiming to be the IRS. Um, and they're going to say, well, you owe us this amount of money. And if you don't pay, then, agents are going to come and arrest you, so on and so forth. And that's not how it works. The IRS is not going to call you and demand money. You're going to get a letter. And if you don't respond to that letter, then you're going to go to court somehow and it's going to get taken out of your paycheck. Now, if you don't work, I don't know what they do after at that point. But, and also, if you owe the IRS a ton of money, I don't know. I mean, you guys have probably seen those commercials with the, it's some service where they work with the IRS on your behalf, and you end up coming up with some kind of agreement where you pay 50% of what you owe, and you can make payments. So the IRS is not just going to call you up and say, "Hey, you owe us $10,000 or $20,000, and if you don't pay us right now, we're going to come and arrest you." It doesn't work that way. But people don't know that. So it's just one of those things that the every day that goes by, there's a new cyber attack somewhere. There's a new virus. There's a new malware, phishing scams. There's every day, every minute. As a matter of fact, I use Bitdefender as my malware antivirus, and I use the VPN. Not sponsors yet. Um, and I think there was a little pop up, and it said that every minute there's so many new viruses that are created and just put out there, and this supposedly has real time scanning, so whatever. But if it doesn't exist yet, you can't look for it. So you know now, I mean, I doubt anyone's trying to hack me. I don't have anything. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough anything for anyone to make any. I mean, other than if they just want to steal my credit card info and go and buy like concert tickets or some groceries. That's about all they'd be able to do, you know. Uh, and I already have things in place for that. With the all I have to do is just say it was fraud on my credit card, and I get my money back, and they look into it, and hopefully they catch the person. You know, so I'm not worried about it. But there's people out there that are making quarter mil or $500,000 a year. They have assets. They have you know yeah, I mean, how many people that make that much money do you think really look at every credit card charge? They see 15 bucks, 20 bucks. They think their kid did it, you know, and that's all it takes. If you see like a subscription to something, it's every month, that could be a scam. That could be somebody got your card, and it might not even be a real subscription to anything. And they're getting 15 bucks a month or 10 bucks a month, whatever. But if they did that to 10,000 people, that's a lot of money, so not, so if you see some random charge and you don't know what it is, you got to look into it. Don't just assume, oh, I probably signed up for this. Oh, I probably bought this, or, my kid probably did this, or my wife, you know what I mean? It's just those little things to look out for. And I think that's kind of what I want this channel to be. But then again, like I said, I only want it to be like 60% that, because I need to keep it positive and I'm just talk about random things and have some guests over, and well, not over here yet because we're still doing the pandemic thing, but via Skype or via phone call. It'd be nice just to talk some things out with somebody else, with another human. um I will say this now. John and I have um, different opinions on a lot of things. Well, not, I wouldn't say a lot of things, but there's a few key things that we have very different opinions uh, about. So it should be interesting. But I think this would be very interesting because, and this took a long time for me to be able to do this, but um, I try to, and I'm not saying that John doesn't do this, but I try to um, almost like a defense attorney. Like if I know I don't agree with somebody, right, and I need to defend them, right, even though I may, whatever. Sometimes a defense attorney knows that their client is guilty of something, but they need to make it seem like they're not guilty, or maybe they are, but they're not that guilty. So they, you know what I mean. So I kind of, if I'm talking to somebody and I know that we have polar opposite opinions on something, as we discuss, and I think that's the best way for people to find, to come back together, is to have open, honest discussions about things that we disagree on, because we may find that we agree on a lot more than we think. But sometimes we get hung up on these, one or two or three or a handful of things that, you start butting heads with somebody, and it gets blown out of proportion, or things get too heated. So, so if I'm talking to somebody and, you know, like I said, polar opposite opinions, I try to, like, as we're discussing, try to think, all right, well, how can I get on board with this opinion? How can I, like, how do I see it from their point of view? You know, and I think if more people did that, things wouldn't get heated. So yeah, so it should be interesting. Because I honestly, I don't even know what we're talking about. He's going to school. He's working on his master's for computers, and you know, uh, he's a musician hobbyist, I guess you could say. Um, and he's a family man. He loves his family. He's a really good father. So it'll be, but I don't know what we're going to talk about. I know we're going to talk about music. We might talk about some computers, and I'd like to get his opinion on, staying safe online. Um, some good practices as far as, you know, keeping your computer healthy and up to date. Knowing, you know, some red flags, like what to look for, if something pops up. But again, it's going to be, I want this to be winging it, turn the mic on and just go. Whatever happens, happens. And if it sucks, then it sucks. If it's good, great. So, but yeah, so I'm going to leave it there. Because, like I said, I really had nothing to talk about except for maybe some stuff that I just talked about for 37 minutes. So I guess I did have something to talk about. But until next time, thank you so much for joining me. And I hope you come back. And if you sat through this whole thing, then thank you. But if the video started and you just took off after a few seconds, that's cool too. Whatever. So, all right, guys, until next time, thank you for joining me on the Ponzi Scheme Show. Till next time. I already said that. Yeah. All right, later.